they were already using Gamma, and they were using different applications. So see, and these are all people from marginalized communities.
AI as a technology needs to meet people where they are, right? Which brings me to you, Jayant, right? Because Magic Bus works extensively with marginalized youth and communities. So it's a twofold question. Based on your experience, how can AI be made accessible and beneficial for the masses? And two, in what ways can we ensure that the democratization of intelligence through AI leads to inclusive growth?
Let me start the second question first, So, see, we've had, if you really ask me, there have been two modes which have been there, right? Earlier, we had the information mode, which was about, information not being available. But I think with DPI, etc., I think, a lot of information is already available to people. And, I think that has, in a way, kind of been dismantled, that mode. So, these used to be power centers. You could relate to, government offices, within organizations. People who had information used to be power centers. The second mode is the intelligence mode. Now, just imagine that, people, children like us, from privileged families, they get the best education. You look at the number of people making it to IITs, IIMs, very few from marginalized communities. So this is not that these people, they don't have that awareness, they don't have that exposure. So the question is, how do we get that? Now, AI actually ensures that we are able to get the best of intelligence in the remotest corner of the country. So it actually dismantles. So I think this is a great enabler to dismantle. And like I think Tarun said, see, today AI is built by the elite for the elite. It does not actually, it is not made for the fringes. So till it is not made by the people who really want to kind of use it, it won't be. It should be something like, our UPI or, the Aadhaar card. It should get across to, the masses. Then only it can really, really be used. Now, let's just look at, what are the four big problems? And I think a lot of people spoke about for the country, right? One is, I would put education and skills, probably together, education, skills, employability, jobs. So if you look at that, first is, if you look at people not having access to education, teachers not being there, in the remote rural places. So teachers can now with AI be there, the assessments which could be done, and you could actually kind of, bring, and you can bring in the best of education to the people. The second is about, girls dropping out. If you really look at it today, that, when 100 girls get into primary, there are only less than 40 who complete higher secondary. The reason is distance distance to the school, safe transport, etc., etc. So how do we bridge that gap? Till we don't do that, we don't really build an inclusive India where, we are talking about, everybody participating. Now, AI gives us the opportunity to bridge that gap. Again, on the employability part of it, 50% of our graduates is known are unemployable. How do we actually get what is really required in terms of job, career counseling, spoken English? I think it does that. In Magic Bus, what we've done is we've got this verbal chatbot which we are rolling out to a 3.5 lakh young youth who will be actually part of a program this year to actually teach them spoken English. So I think till we actually have AI actually built for the masses and by the masses, it should live their lived context. It should be kind of, their language. I don't think we can kind of, reach out there.
Jayant, you touched upon the reality of students from different backgrounds being very, very different, right? It's not one whole. And Jayant, maybe learning a little bit more from the Magic Bus experience of using AI to empower the underserved communities. What do you see as the most critical steps to scale inclusive AI? Partnerships, ecosystem support, policy interventions, and what are some of the lessons from your journey that could guide others, some of us that are working in this space?
Really, really good question. So, see, we've actually embarked on this journey where we're actually trying to, democratize access. So what we've done is, this year we'll have close to 3.5 lakh young youth, 60% being girls, whom we will train on employability skills and put them into jobs. Now, to do this, the biggest problem is that, how do you mobilize them? So you look at, disaggregated data. You look at, who are the people who are there. If you look at one of the biggest problems which the country has is that, our retention rates, and this was spoken in the parliament, is around 30%. So when you put 100 people into job, only 30% of the people stay back. When you interview girls, they say that within the first year of the job, 50% are ready to leave the job. So what is happening is that although we're talking about unemployability, but the people don't want to work, right? They don't have those skills. So how do you kind of bridge that gap? So what AI is actually, what we're trying to do is trying to build this engine where we're trying to see that, are there certain traits for people for the stickiness which is there? Can we actually mobilize them better? People who really need a job. Can we actually look at, providing them this, like, I think Prateek said, this adaptable, hyper-local kind of learning. Today, fortunately, unfortunately, today, most of these people get into entry-level jobs, which are service sector jobs. Spoken English is still very important. Now, for spoken English, these people are just not confident, to speak in public. They're not even confident asking questions. So what happens is, and, if somebody is judging them, they just can't speak at all. So now AI, the conversational bots allow them to practice. They can say, I'm going for an interview. How do I face it? What are the questions if I'm going for a data entry operator? So these are the kind of things which actually helps them do. And we've kind of, launched career counseling. We've launched a verbal bot for this. And again, I think, when you come to, I think one of our favorite topics is actually we focus on girls. We'll have around 40 lakh odd young adolescents who are part of our education program this year, 52% being girls. Now, the biggest reason why girls drop out is because, in marginalized families, is because, either school is further away, or is it that, parents want them to earn a living or look after siblings? So how do we actually bring, all this information or knowledge to the girl at the place and time of the choosing? So that's what we're trying to do. So we've launched a platform called FutureX, which is a living platform, which is talking about mobilization, learning, connecting them to employers, and then an alumni connect, and subsequently looking at their personal and professional aspirations as they move ahead. So that's where AI is going to help, look at data, look at kind of, help us, build intelligence and address that. And sorry, the last part, which you said, what's really required. I think, so you need policy, you need government. See, the government brings in scale. The tech companies bring in, the understanding, the knowledge, the AI. I think it's good to be profitable, but till we kind of start really building, I would urge these tech companies to start building for the masses, like the UPI and the Aadhaar card. And I think the NGOs bring the grassroots understanding and execution. So I think all have to come together to kind of, address this.
Got it. Yeah. So I think if AI as a technology meets people where they are, addressing for the differences, and of course, a collaborative approach which brings together folks from different walks of life to solve some of this. With that, I'd like to leave the panelists with a question, and maybe you can use the next couple of minutes to come back to us on thoughts on this one. If by 2030, India has to become a global model for inclusive AI, what would be the one critical decision or intervention to be made in 2025?
I actually used all the AI different bots and asked, what is India's position on AI right now, ranking country-wise? So most of them, 2 of them said 7th, 1 said 4th. So, and I was thinking that we would be number 3 after US and China. So we are actually, we are not there still. Then there's a Stanford report which talks about some AI intent, which rates India at the top, which is 2.8, US is at 2.3, etc. So, again, very, very interesting. So at least, but see, if you really look at, India today, it is a confluence of, great governance. The government really wants to make a difference. I think stable policies. We do these classes, physical classes where we're teaching AI. So this year we'll have 1.5 lakh young people trained on AI. I went to one of the classes and we just started the batch. And there were a set of boys and girls who were there, youth. And I just asked them, generally, aap kya use karte ho, kaise karte ho, what are the applications used? And I was surprised, this was the second day and we not taught them anything. They were already using ChatGPT, they were already using Gamma, and they were using different applications. So see, and these are all people from marginalized communities. So it is so simple, it is so easy that people will kind of get to it as it is, So I have really, really great hope that I think if you can just get that, I think we should be done.
That's heartening to hear, Jayant. I think for me, if there's one takeaway that I am taking from here is that AI's future in India will not be defined by the technology alone, but by the choices that we're making as a society, whether we're designing with the intent of creating a divide or inclusion, right? And as Jayant, you rightly talked about, that the real measure of success on our path to Viksit Bharat will actually be how well AI empowers the most underserved, making inclusion not a byproduct, but actually the very purpose of the innovation. So thank you so much, everybody, for being such a kind audience.